Hello friends, Jay the Silent Cartographer here with another daily map. This is number 32. Today is officially the second month of daily maps. Ooh, goody. A bit of housekeeping as we're getting into it. This second month of daily maps is going to be a little bit different than the first one. Because I realized it would be way easier just to do them from the first of the month to the last of the month. So this is going to be the September block of daily maps, if you will, and I will be uploading however many maps are in the rest of September. I can actually look on my calendar right here. There's 30 days, 30 minus 8 is 22. So next 22 maps will be the September block, and then there's the October block, and then November, December, etc. All the way to the end of time, because we are going to be making maps until the day that we die. First things first, though, let's make a continent. I'm in the mood to make a continent map today. Want something with a bit less water? I just got done playing a couple of very frustrating games of chess. I've been trying to teach myself chess, and I don't think my brain works that way, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think that I process information in a way that's very good for chess. I think too quickly is my problem. I don't sit down and think. I just move very, very fast, and that leads to me making a lot of very stupid mistakes that often make me lose games horribly. But besides that, I've been checking out Tony Hawk's Pro Skater remake, and that has been an absolute delight. I don't think a single piece of media has impacted my taste in music more than the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series did back when I was a kid. I mean, that was what got me into like punk, and that and a GameCube game called 1080 Avalanche that I used to play when I was up in Vermont, up in ski country, doing some snowboarding. I would play 1080 Avalanche with my stepsister or with a couple of our family friends, and I mean, yeah, it just gave me this unquenchable thirst for punk rock and skateboards, and it really makes me want to skate again. I keep a skateboard in my trunk just to kind of, have like I never really liked biking, so whenever I have to quote unquote bike somewhere or go a far distance I don't want to walk, I'll take a skateboard. And I don't know, playing Tony Hawk again after 15 years of not playing it really made me want to go grab my skateboard and just hang around for a while. I mean, hey, I'll bet with COVID there's not a lot of skate parks that are full of people right now. I'm sure it'd be a pretty leisurely skating experience for those who wish to figure out where a skate park would even be open. I'm sure some of the public parks are still open. I'm sure beyond sure that some of the public parks are still accepting skate rats, even if maybe they don't want to be. But yes, I mean, like I've been playing the remake. The remake's shockingly competent, like really better than it had any right to be. Which might be a little bit unfair to say, but I do think it's true that I don't know, that it's just a very well made it's just a very well made little remake. See, let's really quickly, the water texture is going to be worn. We're going to go to water. We're going to go to our water settings. We're going to saturate it. We're going to devalue it a little bit. And then we're going to go to land. We're going to go do the exact same thing we've been doing for a very long time now. Just give this nice glowy blue outline. Sorry if you can hear construction going on outside my window. It is 85 degrees sunny here, so I've been keeping the window open to kind of, just keep the fresh air flowing. Because it's getting a little bit stuffy in here. Definitely not uniform blend. Uh, See, I want hatch pattern to look good, but it just doesn't. I think uniform blend with a nice FX distance will give what I want to see here. Then let's go, and then I also posted a set of my daily maps in one single public Imager post, and I think I'm going to actually be I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to be putting that link in the description of the videos for now, as well as the link for today's map. There will be the link for all of last month's maps as well, and then at the end of this month, I'll send that one out. And I posted it over to the Maps subreddit, the D&D Maps subreddit, and I got a couple of upvotes on it. I made myself a Reddit account to do some silent cartographing, whatever you want to call it. Was pleased to see a couple of people commenting on the Imgur album, saying that they were going to get some good use out of those maps. And yeah, I really like the fact that some people decided that there was something in there that was for them, that they could use and that they could like. And that is the point of Daily Map, is to not only give myself a creative out, but to also give you all creative inspiration to run your own D&D games, to make your own worlds and to do your own crazy stuff. And so, if any of you would like to yoink my maps off of the Imgur, be my guest, as long as you're not monetizing it or making a living off of my maps. As that is not right, that is not something you should be doing, then I am super happy. And I don't know, after getting a little bit frustrated at some very tilting chess games, I think I'm just going to spend a nice little while here slowly going through and doing something a little bit more methodical. And then I got my grade for my animation course today, and I passed my second course, which is lovely. Means that I am moving on in 3 weeks to course number 3 of 6 for my education there. And so that's been interesting. It's definitely shown me like what I like and what I don't like about certain aspects of creativity. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of animation, which is probably an odd thing to say as I'm in school for it, but I'm not sure if I'm a fan of it. And honestly, I think that 3D modeling, is probably more up my alley than 3D animation is. It's something I've been doing a lot more, although I've been doing it as like a hobby more so than a career. Or not a career, a hobby more than an education, sorry. But I'm in an animation program called Animation Mentor, and it's very competent. It's one of the most competent online programs I've ever actually been a part of. I've tried quite a few in my years of floundering about life, but I really couldn't find anything like that for 3D modeling. And so I've taken to learning animation. Hopefully it gives me a little bit of a step in while I kind of do my own thing. And I mean, really what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to take the ideas that I have in my head and put them out into the world as like a creative piece of work. Most of that comes out through my writing, which I'm planning on starting actually after Daily Map today. Is I was going to play some chess games, I was going to do Daily Map, and then I was going to start on that book, because I'm finally obligation free. My D&D campaign started on Sunday. That was a blast. Lasted 5 hours. It was crazy. Slept like a log that night. Woke up the next day. Did the last of my schoolwork. Got my grade. And then today I woke up saying, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to start writing that book. I'm going to get that book out of my head, and I'm going to get it down on paper. And so I will. And so it shall be done. And so I couldn't be more excited about starting to write again, because I've been so busy. And I have a saying, and you're gonna have to pardon my French on this one. If you're a child, please cover your ears for the next 5 seconds. Passion is not conducive to shutting the fuck up. Is something I say very often. And for me, that kind of comes out of my writing, where if I come up with an idea for a book or a story, I'll sit down and I'll write it. And I won't stop sitting down, and writing this thing until it's basically either been completely outlined or completely drafted. And if we're talking about 150,000 page, Jesus, could you imagine? Word fantasy novel, we're talking weeks of writing. And so it's one of those things where I can't justify letting myself slip into that notion of it's writing time while I'm still doing schoolwork, because I'd neglect my schoolwork. So I've been saving this idea, and I've been keeping it in my dream journal and in in some leather-bound notebooks. I'm a bit of a notebook fiend. I might do like a little office tour at some point in my life, but I'm a little notebook fiend. I order leather bounds and spiral bounds and notebooks up the wazoo. And so every project has its own notebook. There's even a Silent Cartographer little leather-bound pocketbook that I got just to write down some of my ideas for the channel. I do have a lot of videos I'd like to make. I just don't have a lot of time, or at least I don't have a lot of time that I'm willing to spend on it right now. There might be a time in the future when things settle down a little bit where I might start making more D&D videos, more writing videos, but I say, like, Silent Cartographer to me, the YouTube channel, is not ever meant to be a career. It's not ever meant to be something like, oh, I'm gonna do Daily Map every day, I'm gonna put out all this content, and I'm gonna make it big on YouTube. No, I don't really care. This might sound a little bit crass, and I'm apologizing if any of you take offense to this, but I don't really care if anybody watches these videos, you know? I do them because I find them enjoyable. I do them as a creative outlet for myself, and I do them in the hopes that maybe somebody will find a benefit from it. But I do not do this to make money. I don't make this as a career. And so that means that I can't really justify spending a ungodly amount of time working on a YouTube channel. So instead of doing things that are strictly like, I want to make a video about X or Y, instead I'm doing projects that I want to do and then cataloging them on the channel. So the example of the Bandits in the Mine of Aramor, which is my hopefully eventually published adventure, I've written what I ran or what I've started to run for my Sunday group, but I haven't sat down and really started the outlining and the writing process for those videos that I outlined in that video. There is a process that I'm going to be going through with that, and there are going to be a lot of videos that come along with that. But since I haven't had really any time to myself, I really haven't had time to make any of those videos, and so it's on the back burner. It's something that's a project that I'm going to do. I will write an adventure that I will put up on the DM Skill. But the timeline is based on what I have the time to do, for one, and then two, what I have the passion to do. What I have the passion to do right this very moment, besides Daily Map, which is something that I force myself to do Daily Map because it's good for me. It puts me in a creative headspace, and then if I go from Daily Map to going to sleep or taking a shower or listening to music or writing or anything like this, I'll already be in that creative mindset that will then help me pull ideas out of my head faster. So I do this as a creative outlet or a creative jump start. But something like the D&D adventure is something that I'm just going to be doing when I really have a good idea or when I want to spend an afternoon doing it. And so it'll probably be done over the next couple months, depending on how school goes, depending on how much prep I have to do for D&D every week. It'll just slowly get done. But I mean, really, like, my priority right now is the outline to that book. Very few times in my life have I felt like an idea could be the one that I had. There's one idea that I've had for a story for a very long time, which is why my website is called Studio 4041. And why I trademarked the name Studio 4041, and that's because I have a story called Warehouse 4041 that I am planning on making at some point in my life. I don't know if it'll be anytime soon, but that's going to be my passion project. The problem with it is that I wanted it to be a comic book or a manga style thing, but I have really messed up wrists, so I can't actually draw very well. And the amount of time that it would take me to learn how to draw and to learn how to be comfortable, physically comfortable, because my hands would start burning, would take far, far longer than if I were to hire somebody else to do it. So I want to hire somebody to draw my idea. But in that sense, I also want to become an author capable of shouldering the story that I have in my head. I want to be able to bring that story out and push it out into the public, so I figured instead of spending time learning to draw with crippled hands, I would learn to write with crippled hands, and and hone my writing craft, and then hopefully once I have some stories under my belt, maybe there will be somebody who comes along who says, you know what, I'm totally down to do a collaboration with you. And it'd have to be a very special person to pull this idea out of me and make it something amazing. But that's my dream, is to publish that one story, and if I can publish that one story, then I'll be content. But I mean, to that end, I've written, again, I've written probably 5-6 books in my life. Most of which will never see the light of day. Actually, all of which will probably never see the light of day, without severe revisions. Because I don't know, it's weird. I'll write a book in the sense that I'll sit down and I'll draft it out. I'll outline it, because I'm not a discovery writer. I'm an outline writer. I've learned that very quickly. That if I leave myself to my own devices, I will drive my story into the ground and it will become unsalvageable. So what I do is I create an outline. I then go back on a second pass and I detail that outline. I put in some twists, some ideas. I write down any plot holes in a journal that I keep on me at all times. This is something I picked up from watching, I think it was No, it wasn't Stephen King. I forget who I picked this up from. But it was like there was a podcast with a writer. He said, "Yeah, I keep like a notebook with plot holes in it, and then whenever I have a free moment, I open it, I read it, and I think about some of the plot holes, and I think if I can fill them. And if it doesn't come to me, I just leave it alone. And so that's kind of how I outline. And then once I'm done with the outline, my outline's usually like, I think the outline for Eld was 72 pages or something like that. So it was a pretty extensive outline. And then I would start, but I kind of outline in a funny way. My first outline is very short. It's probably 2, 3, 5 pages long. And then the second outline, I go in and I write all the steps and all the details in giant bullet point lists. And then I'll go and, like, for example, let's make up a character called Dave. And let's say Dave enters the store as one of my bullet points. I'll pull that bullet point out and I will expand that bullet point. I'll push words into it, and I'll just keep blowing it up. And then I'll write that part of the story. And then so it'll be like bullet point, paragraph, 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 bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. And so the discovery writing for me is kind of like when I'm in my outline writing, I'm discovery writing. I'm discovery writing in the sense that I don't know what's going to happen in the shop. I don't know what the shop looks like. I just know that Dave is going to the shop. And so, yeah. But I'm probably for this next book, which I still haven't titled, I still haven't figured out the main character's name. Just definitely something I'm going to need to do. But I mean, really, a lot of my character names are awful. If I'm being completely honest with you. I think again, there's one character that I really like, and his name is Benel Arlane, and he's your typical roguelike savant in my latest foray into writing books that nobody will read, called Dust. And he's a bit of a scoundrel, but he's ruthlessly competent at it, and it's actually kind of funny. The main character, the story does a bit of a cold open where the main character is escaping from a prison. He wasn't arrested. He got himself locked up in prison. And while he's escaping, well, escaping's the wrong word. While he's looking for something in the prison, he runs headfirst into Benel, a thief who was caught, arrested, and is literally escaping prison at the same time that that the main character is. And so it's kind of like this very Scooby-Doo moment where they're both creeping through the shadows and they just like get right up into each other's faces, and they both like have a brief panic for a moment, and then the story kind of goes from there. And he's just a great character. He's tons of fun to write. He's tons of fun to think about. He's just an asshole, but he's an asshole who knows exactly what to say at any. He's a very wise asshole. Is probably the best way I could describe Benel. Which it's difficult to write a character like that because there were a lot of points in the outline and in the draft of that story where I was like, God, Benel's a dick. I just want to get him out of here. I want to write him out of the chapter because he was just too frustrating for the other characters. He wouldn't have been part of the group, so I had to like tone back the sarcasm, rework the jokes, and really make it work because it didn't really work the way that it was going. And so Benel got a few reworks, got a few tones down. But in the end, it was he was my favorite character out of that. He definitely had the most personality, definitely had the most oomph and pizzazz with him. And it's actually funny. I went on to Hero Forge, a little D&D miniature creation website, and I was just messing around, and I made a model that, like, before I realized it, I just kind of like I sat back and I was like, holy crap, that's Benel, that's him, that's it right there. And so I actually have brass 3D printouts of Viridius, Benel, and Jack, the three characters from Dusk that the protagonist is Viridius, then Jack is she is a half devil who ties into the story of Dust. In a sense, she ties into a story of Dust. Really, she's just the muscle. I think I've gone over this in a different video, that if you broke it down into the Holy Trinity, Benel would be the healer, Jack would be the tank, and Viridius would be the DPS. And together they had a really good group dynamic, and I really liked writing those characters. They had an interesting little plot, but overall I thought that the outline wound up really boring. The characters didn't really go anywhere. There was promise of a grand adventure, and I did not live up to that promise. So maybe one day I'll go back and I'll rewrite Dust. Maybe I'll find the perfect plot hook, the perfect way to do something. I mean, actually, I thought I did at one point, but I realized very quickly that what I'd found is the perfect opening for a sequel, which I had no interest in writing a sequel to a book that I never wrote, so... But yeah, talking about stories. What a time to do a daily map. 20 minutes of me just talking probably nonsense, if we're being honest with each other here. 20 minutes of me talking nonsense about stories that you've never read, that I've never written. But you know, to go back to the original point that I was going to make, this story about that daily map that we made, see? It all comes back to daily map. This story about the daily map has been festering in my head, and it's so gloriously old school, like epic fantasy type shenanigans. You have a world that's ending, you have heroes that are rising to fight it, but they don't know that they're heroes. It's kind of like the Unlikely Stories. But, I mean, really, if you think about it, it's a Chosen One story, but I really don't want it to be, so I'm going to try to subvert the Chosen One, like, genre a little bit by, like, what happens if the Chosen One just decides, nah, it's really not for me, but his destiny's just kind of following him around, keeping at his coattails. So really, what it is I'm disguising a Chosen One adventure as a getting the gang together kind of story. Because as this main character, whoever he winds up being, I haven't come up with his name yet, goes to different areas and meets new people and builds his team. At the end of the book, and I mean, I haven't written it yet, so it's not really a spoiler. He is either A, going to be captured and then there's going to be another book, or B, he is going to essentially be assumed dead. It would be the polite way of putting it. He would be walking off to see his final moments in this world, walking off to save the day, finally having come to terms with who he was and what he stood for. So is he the Chosen One? Not really. Could it be interpreted that way? Yeah. Will these trees take me 5 hours to put down? Uh-huh. Are you gonna watch all of it? Probably not. Am I gonna keep doing it anyway? Uh-huh. We need more topics to talk about. I mean, I guess we can talk about how D&D went. D&D went. I mean, a 5-hour combat's not something you hear about very often. In the Bandits of the Mines of Aramor, the first combat encounter that the players are tasked with after arriving in the town is that they meet up with the bartender. The bartender tells them that there are bandits out in the foothills and they're pillaging farms, and there's only one farm left. And the players are asked to go and help that farm because the town's guard are far too few and far too far between to successfully defend it. And so the players all very readily agreed, partially due to some backstory decisions of some of the characters to actually have a stake in the bandits' defeat, which was very nice of them to do because it made it very simple to introduce characters because somebody started talking about bandits and adventure, and then the rest of them just kind of dogpiled, and that was super great. Tavern starts are always a bit awkward. There's really no way to not do that, but I mean, the job of the first adventure or the first quest that you go on is to bond the party together and to give them an idea of who each other are, what their character traits are, etc., etc. And so I think that this actually worked out very well. But they could go to the last farm. There were two options that they had with the bandits. The first was that they could go to the farmstead that hadn't been attacked yet, and if they did that, and they did it very quickly, which they did, they would have an opportunity to do kind of like a wave defense, where I gave them a bunch of props, and I said, set this farm up like as you wish. Set this farm up as you wish, and then the bandits will come and they will attack. They saw this, and they came up with a plan. They came up with a plan to ambush one of the bandit scouting parties, because part of it was that I said that the bandits had been seen in the foothills kind of scouting the area out. And so they go to the farm, they meet Zach, the owner of the farm. He actually shoots one of the players in the top of his head with a crossbow. It was a very funny moment. Very funny moment in the story. They meet the leader of the farm. He tells them that everyone else in the farm has up and ran away from the town because the town is doomed. They know it. They're going to go and they're going to try to find their fortunes elsewhere. And he's the only one dumb enough to stay because he's going to die in his home. He refuses to leave to this threat of bandits coming. And so the players have the option of defending the farm. And so they say that they're going to capture one of the bandit patrols and they're going to interrogate them to see where the rest of the bandits are. And through some blundered stealth checks and some blundered perception checks, they actually wind up running head-on into the bandit patrol. Fortunately for them, the patrol is very weak. It wasn't intended to be a very hard encounter, and they are able to kill 2 of the bandits and incapacitate one of them. They then used a spell. I think they used Charm Person on that on the bandit, and they got him to lead them back to his camp. In the foothills, there was a fortress which the players could have also gone and searched for, that housed the bandit war party that was out to destroy the last farm. And so they did what they could to get the information out of him, and then just before friends wore off, they stripped him, hog-tied him, and covered him in mayonnaise. How it got under my nose that one of the players actually did have mayonnaise on them was beyond me. But that was a very interesting tactical choice. So there's a tied-up bandit covered in mayo in the middle of my my campaign setting now, and I don't really know what to do with that. But anyways, they followed this bandit's instructions because he gave them good instructions, and they made it to the bandit hideout. And in this bandit hideout, there were like 30 bandits. There were a lot of bandits. They had archers on battlements. They had a bunch of lazy peons and scrubs who were just kind of doing the 9-to-5 bandit duty. You know, as you do as a bandit, sometimes you just gotta shovel shit. And so the party creeps up through the woods, and they have a changeling with them. The changeling disguises themselves as the bandit that they covered in mayonnaise, and they use a disguise kit to kind of make this bandit look like he's been really roughed up. He's had a bad time. The changeling bursts out into the camp of like 30 enemies and says, "You gotta help. They ambushed us. We need assistance. The other 2 were dead, or they're wounded, and they need your help." And so I thought to myself, because these bandits, they had orders. They had orders to grab the last farm's worth of food and then retreat back to the mines in Aramor, where the rest of the bandits are. And so the bandit leader gave the other thing that the changeling said is that there were hired adventurers, that adventurers had come to the city to deal with the bandits, and then everyone was in trouble. And so the bandits made the decision. They said, okay, well, if the adventurers fought you guys off on your patrol, we're going to send half of our force with you to try and find the adventurers, or to try and recover the two wounded bandits. And the other half of the force I'm going to send to the farm. And they're going to grab the food. And they're going to, because they also informed that the bandit leader that the townspeople had left, and so the bandit made the decision that he was going to go to the farm. He was going to grab the rest of the food stores, and that he was going to then ride down to the mines of Aramor, and he was going to fill in the boss that they had been compromised, but that they had got the food, and then that would be bad. So one half of the bandits went to go untie their horses, and just as this happened, like all the players were in a huge panic, because they were like, oh god, half of them are leaving, what do we do? If we leave them, then the poor farmer, he's gonna die, which he totally was, because actions have consequences. And so one of them misty stepped up onto the battlements and cast witch bolts on a tent, lighting it ablaze. And so the bandit camp started to burn. Some arrows were fired at the bandits from the same warlock, and all the bandits realized that the adventurers had followed their injured comrade, and they all got ready for combat. And so it was 7 players versus around 30 bandits, a lot of which were variant bandits, which I've made a couple of CR3 archers, and then there were 2 CR4 brothers. There was one in a red coat, one in a blue coat, and they were meant to attack together. They were kind of this big boss of this area. They would have been split up if they'd split the bandits a little bit, but nope, they were all in that fight. So I think it was 4 archers, these 2 captains, then no less than like 25 of the little peon bandits that had 11 hit points. The wizard in the party had a clutch shatter, which downed like 7 of them in one hit, and then it was game on from there. And 7-player characters takes a while to DM for combat-wise. If you believe me, so does 20 bandits. So does going through a combat of that scale. So, I mean, I wasn't expecting them to pick that fight, if I'm being honest with you, but I had introduced my campaign as something where if you make a decision, I'll follow through with your decision to do that. Like, I'm not going to hold your hand. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you might fail. Let me make this easier for you. So I was committed. So this 3.5-hour slugfest of a fight saw 2 people die. Everyone else was under 10 hit points by the end of it. They were barely scraping by. A couple of really clutch moments from everybody involved. The one healer in the group is an artificer alchemist, and I gave everybody an uncommon magic item at the start of the campaign, and theirs was like a healing balm that they wanted to have, and I said, fine, you're the only healer, you can definitely have like a healing salve. And they had like 7 or 8 uses of it, and now they have 1. It was a nightmare. One player, a tiefling hexblade, or not hexblade, a tiefling critical role class, bloodhunter, that's what it is. A tiefling bloodhunter went down first, jumped into the middle of the bandit captains, got peppered by arrows, got flanked, and then whole bunch of attacks, and he was surprisingly, he's the squishiest person on the team, and so he went down real quick, and he was actually on 2 death saves when he was picked back up. That was stressful. And then there was a homebrew magic item that my Leonin paladin wanted, which was a locket that would allow basically a provoke, almost like a reverse sanctuary, where if the enemy decided to not attack him, then they would take psychic damage. And so he did it on the other captain and the 2 archers, because the captains had been split. And the 2 archers, he had a 20 AC, but the 2 archers got lucky. I mean, they had multi-attack, they had 2 attacks each, so it was 4 attacks around. at I think like +6 to hit, and he wound up taking 3 arrows in 1 turn, and he got knocked out, and so he almost died in the first night. We had an assassination rogue who jumped down to finish off a bandit captain, and jumped into the line of sight of 2 archers, who then or of the 2 archers, who, after killing the Leonin paladin, turned around and shot him, and brought him down to 3 hit points. The guy who made his stand on the wall and made a big show of it, and kind of pulled the whole camp, wound up at 3 HP, running around in circles, trying to dodge everything. Yeah, it was incredible, the lengths. And then we had the changeling bard who was able to, for so long, was able to just sit back and cast Vicious Mockery. Unfortunately, level 3 PCs have a really hard time of it because their spell DC is like 11 or 13, so it's very easy for things to not work, and Vicious Mockery unfortunately doesn't do anything if they save. So there were a lot of turns of, oh, are you kidding me? It's like, that didn't do anything, darn it, that sucks. But there were also a couple of key moments where disadvantage on attack rolls definitely saved some hit points. Everyone burned through so many spell slots. Everyone burned through so many items. But they were able to kill it, and they were super pumped. They're like, yeah, we saved the town, we killed the bandits. No, you didn't. The assassination rogue actually had like an Assassin's Guild contract. And I kind of ripped this idea off from Assassin's Creed with the feathers, but essentially each assassin from the Assassin's Guild who's paid for a contract gets a soul-bound piece of paper. And this piece of paper, or actually, maybe I took it from One Piece. This piece of paper, if the person whose name is written on the paper dies, the paper will begin to burn and fade. And I told him as the session ended, by the way, that paper is still fine. And the words that came out of his mouth were, "Oh fuck." And so he is painfully aware that the party has much to do in the town of Aramor before they are done with the bandit menace that has plagued the town for so long. And so I can't wait to see. We literally ended as soon as combat did, just because it went so late. We usually play 9 to 12. We all wound up getting off at 2:30 in the morning. Like, that's insane. I don't want to keep people up. They have jobs, they have lives. I mean, most of us don't have lives, but shh. Yeah, so next week we're starting off with loot. We're starting off with them finding the cipher, which is going to be the puzzle that will either lead them to the mines of Aramor, or it will mean that they are going to have to spend a good amount of time floundering around. And they're also hopefully going to go back to the town, and they're going to see that the town has been attacked. And the reason the town's been attacked is because they let 3 of the bandits escape. One of them got real badly hurt. He ran to one of the horses, untied it, and left. The other 2 were scared away by the Leonin, tried to untie the other horse, got cut off, but the party decided to not pursue. And so there were bandits that got away. The bandits know where the hideout is, because the leader has a message saying where to go. And so they go to the bandit leader and they say, "Hey, boss, there are some adventurers who rolled into town who just murdered everyone." When we left, things were looking pretty bad for us, and so his plans get expedited. The town gets hit a lot sooner. It's a much messier affair. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see what happens next week when the party realizes that not only did they not kill the bandit captain, but due to the fact that they were sloppy and they let people get away, they inadvertently caused the town to be attacked. I don't even know if they'll realize that they are the reason that the town got attacked, but I hope that they are. I hope that they realize it. Because I think that'd be a very fun little, like, oh shh, Nikes, we messed that up real good. Because, to be fair, they did mess that up. They did mess that up quite good. And, you know, that's the fun of D&D. The fun of D&D is the fact that you're gonna mess up. You're gonna mess up. And you know, some of them might be a little bit pissed. They might say, "Hey, what the hell, man? What the hell? Why are there, why are the bandits attacking the town?" And I'll say, "Because you let them go." And if that's not like an oh moment, then I really don't know what could be. I really don't know what could be more of like an oh crap moment than realizing that the reason why the bandits are coming is because you have is because you have let them get away. But again, the fun of Dungeons and Dragons is making mistakes, you know? And I mean, my fun in DMing, and the reason I like to DM so much is because, and my favorite part of D&D is watching the players come up with solutions to my harebrained problems. Because honestly, I'll usually create situations where I myself might have a very different idea as to what is going to happen with the combat, with the story, with the ideas that are thrown out, with the RP, and it's my favorite thing in the world to watch a group of players come together and try and figure out a problem in a way that I never had imagined. Did I think that there was a chance that they? I actually didn't think that there was a chance that they would pull the entire encampment at one go and try to kill everybody at once. I thought that they'd see the number of people there and said, like, "Holy crap, we got to make a choice here." And the intention was for them to make a choice. The intention was for them to choose: do we go after the bandits and or do we go after the bandits who go to the farm, or do we go after the bandits that are going to help one of their own? The bandits going out after the town would probably, or the farm would probably be more aware of the fact that there are people who are looking for them, whereas the bandits that are going towards their fallen comrades might very well think that there's nobody there. And so, tactically speaking, it might be smart to ambush them. It might be smart to draw them away. And they had a really good plan to draw them away from each other. And like the changeling played it fine. They convinced the bandit leader to split his forces. But the threat of the bandits attacking the farm, even though there's only one person there, led to this one character saying, "You know what? I'm not letting a single one of these guys leave. I have to stop these guys right here. There's no other way to do this without losing even one person, and that's too many for me." I don't know if that's why he did the way that he did, or why he did what he did, but I mean, his actions directly saved the life of one NPC, and granted, might have cost the lives of a few townsfolk that wouldn't have died otherwise, or wouldn't have been injured otherwise. But at the end of the day, I mean, they made their bed and they have to live in it. They have to sleep in it. But it did teach me a lot though about that encounter and how I could balance it for the published adventure. I was going for intimidating numbers so that they wouldn't try to pull everything. But the rule of chaotic stupid prevails every time that I encounter it, and I should always plan for an encounter that is fair no matter what, or that is incredibly unfair no matter what. And it is also, you have to think of like a combat that is fun and simple to run. And a combat that's fun and simple to run probably only has around 4 enemies in it. Even if you have 7 players, those 4 enemies are just real tanky. And the reason for this is so that because like I was doing bunched initiative. I was doing initiative for all the bandits and all the archers and all the captains, because otherwise there would just be far too many people. So what I should have done is I should have had the bandits knock out and capture the players that fell unconscious and try to retreat. And if they got away with the players, then suddenly it's a rescue mission. You know, suddenly this is a dangerous rescue mission. And if they don't fail and they get their friends back, then maybe they can make them pull through, and then the gay can go and chase the bandits down. But what I should have done is I should have instead of 20, 11 hit point people, I should have made like 10, 40 hit point people. Because that'd be around one death per player per round, depending on how combat focused they are. I mean, our assassination rogue does like 30 damage on a critical hit, even at level 3, which is nuts. He's a powerhouse of a character. But I mean, that's also how the player likes to play. The players, I've played with him a couple times in the past, and he's a very, I don't want to say metagame player, but he likes to build characters that are very strong, specifically in combat. And so, to him, yeah, that would make sense for him to do 30 damage around. Then there's others like the healer, the bard, the Leonin, who are much more roleplay heavy characters, and then there are some that are mixed bags. And so, again, part of the fun of playing with a whole new group of people, some of which you have DM'd for in the past and others of which I have not, is that I get to learn all their different playstyles and what they're likely to do. And whether it was a murder hobo-driven scheme or a roleplay-driven scheme, I have to account for the fact that there's a chance that this group will try to get in over their head. And so I have to plan for that now. I have to plan to and understand the fact that things can and will go well further than I intend them to, and I have to prepare my combats for that. Now, I also do a weekly wrap-up survey at the end of each session, at the end of each week, just to get feedback from my players, because it's very important to get feedback from the players, specifically what they found boring, what they didn't like, so that you can correct those mistakes, or you can change the campaign a little bit to better suit them, or maybe you left somebody out unintentionally, and maybe they were trying to say something all night, but felt like they never got an opportunity to, etc. And so collecting feedback is a gem. And this player, one of the things that I always do is I always say, like, what could I have done better as the DM? And this loosens people up for the real question, which is, what could you have done better? And this is like something that I've learned through, actually I learned this from Nico Peringer from Corridor Digital. They have a great video about him on being a good boss. And one of the things he says is that he doesn't ever want to have to tell someone why they're wrong. He wants them to figure out why they did something wrong, because that's how you learn from something. If somebody tells you, you messed this up, you are in trouble, you're not likely to learn why you messed that up. Like, let's say you miss a deadline. Let's say, hey, viewer, you were supposed to get this work assignment done a week ago. You asked for an extension and we gave it to you. It's now been 2 weeks. Why didn't this get done? You messed this up. How dare you? You're getting written up. In all honesty, if I reprimanded you in that way and I said you screwed up and you're getting a pay cut and you're getting less hours and you do it again, you're fired. If I say this to you, you're likely to be scared, sure. You're likely to be worried about your job and anxious about your job, but you're not likely to change your performance. So let's get a change in performance by changing the fundamental question that you're asking. Hey viewer, I know you asked for an extension on that assignment, but you still haven't gotten it done. What do you think is causing the problem? Is there anything that I can help you with? Suddenly I feel like I'm on your side. I'm asking you what you need to get this done and why it couldn't have gotten done. And so if you're honest with me, and I mean this is the thing, right? Is that honesty plays a huge gambit in this, because if you say, honestly, boss, this new video game came out and I pulled a couple of late nights and I just wasn't giving it 100%. I promise I'll do better next time. That's honesty, and I like that. If you say, I just had a lot of stuff, I was really busy, this kind of rant is going off of the I'm bastardizing a very good point, which is asking people to point out their own flaws helps them learn about their own flaws. If you say to somebody, you stink, they're gonna take it as an insult. If somebody smells their own shirt and they're like, oh god, they're gonna take a shower and they're gonna do some laundry. And so your job as a boss or as a DM or as an administrator in any role is to kind of lead people to making their own choices. And so for D&D, my question to the players is always like, there's a whole bunch of stuff about how could I have done better, and then the one that I really care about is what could you have done better? And then the player that started the encounter, the player who Misty stepped up onto that wall, he said that what he didn't like about the campaign was that he put everyone in a really bad situation, and something he thought he could have done better is to not do that in the future and to coordinate better with his team and communicate. And that to me means that he totally gets it. That he did not expect at the start of this encounter that it would be 3 hours long, that almost everybody in the party would die. In his own words, he thought that he was going to die. He was like, I thought that maybe there's a chance that I get one shot, and then we all have a laugh about it. But, I mean, clearly that didn't happen, and I should be more aware of that in the future. And so I think that's super cool, you know? That he was able to introspect like that. And, I mean, there's another player who came out and said, like, hey, I should have been more social this week. I played a big role in the decision-making, but I didn't actually RP with anybody. I didn't talk in character besides getting the plot rolling. And I'd like to do more of that in the future. Another one, the healer, said, you know, I really wish I didn't burn my spell slots the way that I did. Because I ran out of spell slots, and it cost me most of my free magic item to recoup the losses and prevent people from dying. So maybe if I'd managed my spells better. And so through all of this, I get a lot of good feedback, which was they really liked the combat as long as it was. They really had a fun time. And that the problems that they had were mostly that they felt like they messed up the RP aspects of things. And, you know, I like it if they said, like, you did this wrong or you did that wrong, because that helps me way more than, I don't think we did this right, or I don't think I did this right. But at least in this section, I want them to self-reflect, but I also want them to give me very harsh feedback so I know what they like and what they don't. But I don't know. I'm excited for the next week. I was kind of nervous going into this one. I'm always kind of nervous starting D&D again, even with a group I've played with before. A new campaign is always daunting. I will freely admit that my biggest flaw as a DM is I suck at the first session introductions. Then once we actually get into the story and get into how things are working, things become a lot more smooth for me, and I'm able to do a lot better. And this was no exception to that rule. So yeah, I definitely kind of fumbled the start, but the players, fortunately, we planned for this kind of, with having the players have a reason to be in the town, have a reason to fight the bandits, so I didn't really have to do a lot of poking and prodding to get them to come together and to do the task at hand. And I don't think that it's gonna I'm trying to get the characters to spend enough time with each other to where they feel like a cohesive unit. And I think that this actually is gonna be a pretty good start on that way. There were a lot of like RP moments, little RP moments inside of the combat, and a lot of like moments where everyone was like, "Yeah, we did it!" And oh god, that's not good. That I can't wait to see. Especially because next week is going to start with the cooling off from this battle and their next big decision. I'm going to imagine that. Excuse me, I'm yawning. I'm going to imagine that there's going to be a lot of statements about how that fight went, coming from all sides and all players. And I'm looking forward to seeing how some characters come out and communicate with each other. Because I mean, when they were RPing with the one farmer, with Farmer Zach, the big old hillbilly who got his crossbow and his shooting window, and he's gonna pop anybody who comes into the local vicinity. Yes, he is. Their roleplay with him was really funny. I tried to keep it as loose as possible, just to kind of keep everyone, because some of these people have never met before. So I like to be goofy a little bit in my first session to people who don't really know me that well, just to kind of break the ice and say, hey, yeah, you can be yourself here. You can be an idiot here. I'm going to be an idiot here. And I think that goes a pretty far way in helping people break out of the shell. If they see that you're being a goofy doofus, then they're more likely to be a goofy doofus themselves. And so I introduced Farmer Zack, the goofy doofus with a crossbow and one eye and buck teeth, and I mean, I set him up to be a sympathetic character. He's stayed in this farm. He refuses to give up his home when everyone else has basically abandoned him to his fate. And so, yeah, the players RP'd with him. They they persuaded him to give up his lucky crossbow. One of them got shot because they're really dumb, and he asked Farmer Zack if Farmer Zack could show him how the shooting window works, and so Farmer Zack went up the shooting window and shot at him, and natural 20 right in the head. Unfortunate for that player character. That same player character then tried to enter Farmer Zack's house and got caught on a booby trap and shot with another arrow. So I mean, that guy was having an interesting time, but it was very, very tongue-in-cheek, and it was very funny. We were all having a great laugh about everything that was happening, and then they were torturing they were torturing the bandits, and the mayonnaise came out, and I mean, that was, who can prepare? Who could prepare for a mayonnaise massage to get some info out of the bandit? I mean, to their credit though, it worked. It absolutely did something. And so, yeah. Sorry if I keep coughing. My throat's like horrendously dry right now. It's been ever since D&D, ever since I talked for that many hours straight. My voice has been a little bit groggy. And really, I think I need some water, but we're so close to being done with this awesome daily map that I am going to go ahead and delay getting some water until we are done with it all together. I do think I want to grab some hills really quickly. I want to flip the shadows around on them, make them a bit smaller. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to pepper these in. Reasons why I'm not coding the entire planet in forests. I don't think it's necessary. I think it would take far, far too long. This recording has already gone on for 56 minutes. That's incredible. For our first daily map of September. We haven't even really talked about a story for this map, and I know that I've enjoyed daily map because it's given me an opportunity to explore different ideas for stories. Some of my favorite little ideas for adventures have come out of daily maps recently. I mean, a whole book idea came out of a daily map. But recently, the last, I think, 4 or 5 of these I've been very stressed out. I'm not gonna lie. My school ending and having my final grade happening at the same time that I've been having my D&D session start and all this other stuff. I've just been a little bit fried in the brain. I've kept doing daily map out of principle, but I think that this is the first day I've sat down to a daily map, and I've really been happy with getting started and getting to it. I'm gonna grab a couple more trees here actually, and I'm going to put this symbol scale on 50, turn the placement right up just a little bit. And we're just gonna go ahead and we're just gonna merge these denser forests with some of the less dense forests here. Just give them a little bit of just using some different trees as well. We're using the coniferous trees here just as like a little bit of extra texture. Change things up a little bit. This is a bit swampy, so I'm just gonna give very, very small number of trees. We're gonna go like that, just like that. Yeah. We're gonna go around here. Yeah, perfect. And this will kind of give the open space a little sense of being a little bit filled, a little bit fuller than it maybe was previously. And then another thing that a commenter on the Daily Maps Roundup, the monthly Daily Maps Imgur post, said is that they greatly would appreciate a map both with and without grid. And I'd never even really thought about the fact that for those of people like me who upload things to Roll20, having a grid on your map is actually way more of a pain than it might seem. And so I've resolved this month to upload at least a version of every battle map that I do with no grid, and to add, to upload a version of all these maps without a grid. I do want to add a compass rose to this, though. Although, like, world maps having a grid, that's okay. It shows the scale of the world. It gives a sense of scale. No, I think something like that would be nice. Let's go ahead and crank the alpha on this. That's actually kind of cool. This is the second color, yeah? Yeah, okay, so we're gonna grab the darkest part of the water. We're gonna make it slightly bluer. Just like that, we have our compass rose. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit bigger. Put it down just like that. Maybe that's a little too big, actually. Maybe we'll go here. Just like that. We're gonna go overlay, we're gonna go grid. We're gonna go... You know, I like hex grids for, I very much like hex grids for continent maps. Because it gives... I don't like squares in the sense that, I mean, I like squares quite a bit. Squares are lovely. But I don't like squares in the sense that they almost feel too generic and formulaic, where each one of these little hexes could be way, way cooler. So we're gonna go and put this on water only. Once again, unfortunately, shows up at the lakes, which is really bothering me. But we're not gonna go into that. Do we want something like really slight, or do we want something really pronounced? And I think we want something really slight here, something like that. Just gives the indication, the inclination that there is texture. I am scaling this now, though, and I am screwing that up, so we're going to go ahead and go here to paths. I just want to zoom in and check this out. Yeah, look at that. I don't think that this map needs locations on it, honestly. I think that can be something that you can do if you like this map. So, with that being said, if you enjoy this map and you want to use it in your own fantasy role-playing game, be that D&D, Pathfinder, anything that you wish, please feel free to find this in the link down below. It'll be an Imgur link or an Imager link, however you want to pronounce it. This map is absolutely free to use, as always, with the caveat that you cannot monetize it or resell it in any way, shape, or form. Included with this link now and forevermore will be a link to the August Daily Maps post, which is 31 days of maps, 50 maps total that are completely free for you guys to use. Both of those will be linked down in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up, feel free to subscribe, and come back tomorrow for another daily map. Thank you so much for watching, and have an amazing